Hello and welcome to the November 2019 layout update for the Trent Valley Railway. In this update, we'll look at the trains on the inclines throughout the update. I'll talk about the rebuild for what was the removable baseboard section for the plank of wood that is stretching across that used to be that length on the old removable section. That needs to be cut down, but before cutting that down, I've added in some extra support framework. And finally, we'll look at the progress for the inclines and the track work up towards the scenery level of the layout. And then another corner piece before it sort of finishes, just before it gets to where the scenery level will go. We'll be having a look at some of the trains running on the incline as we go through the update. And you'll see, first of all here, this is the top of the incline that I've reached. And we'll look back at how I've got to that stage, which has also included having to rebuild the removable baseboard section, which has now been made up of lift-out sections. So we'll take a look back at the progress, but we'll watch some trains on the lower level of the layout. This is the part of the layout where I get in and out of the garage. In previous videos you may have seen that I'd already made a start on revising the lift out sections here to get in and out of the garage door. The very lower level and directly above that, one of the inclines has already been completed, and I now go and put those pieces into that section. Those two sections have now been put in place, and next part of the build here is to do the other two sections that are now missing, which is for the other incline. So there's one that comes across down the left where the track is and meets up with the baseboard that's just coming out from underneath on the right hand side, and then the second one is the very top left hand corner of the screen, having a section that comes all the way across to the upper level of the layout. What I've got to do here is rebuild the framework to support those inclines. This is the very top incline meeting with the upper level of the baseboards here, and I've got the first part screwed in place for the baseboards that join up with then the lift out section, which needs to go into this gap here. Now that wooden post there is going all the way across to the wall as just a sort of propping up the incline that needs to come across from the curved section there and up until meeting up with the upper level of the layout. I've completed this section on this side, screwed in some more wooden beams underneath this bit of baseboard, and I'm now progressing across here and just at the moment replicating the same structure on this side to support a new shorter piece of the baseboard that needs to go in before then cutting up the removable section that will be lifted out and lifted in here to go on this top incline. One of the things that I've also got to do in this is take out the old beam that comes across from the wall here and then extend this out from underneath the curved piece there and up to the edge of the lift out section here with these two posts that are then coming up from the lower level of the layout. Okay, so I've refixed the support beams and the timber joists across from the wall underneath this curved section here, and I've put in then the really small section onto the edge of then the lift out section here. The centerboard can just be removed like that at the moment, because what I've got to do is I've got to put in the terminal blocks on the lift out section and then on the framework on the board, and that's on both sides here, and then fix down them a bit like what I did with the previous lift out section here, and put the pins on the underside of the lift out section for the terminal blocks, and then put the framework in on the back of this section here, which will then go in a bit like that with the frame underneath and the pins to hold it still. So I'll do that, and then we'll take a look at the finished piece here for this very top incline. So before I show you the finished article here with the lift out section, I just wanted to show you how I'm putting together the frame underneath. And the way I'm doing this is actually the other way round to normal, which is actually putting the frame to the baseboard. So I'm starting off with the terminal block there on the bottom and screwing that one in to the framework there. I'd already put the framework down at the right height to then match up with putting a block on top of that, and then I've screwed the terminal block then into that loose block so that that then gives me the right height. And if I come across to the other side here as well, I've done exactly the same on this side, where I've screwed the terminal blocks into the wood, and what I'll do next is actually just put the baseboard on top of those two pieces of frame there, and then I'll screw down into that so I know that the baseboard sits exactly on top of the framework where it needs to go, so that those two pins are aligned on either side, and eventually they'll take the power through for the track that will be on this section here. I've now got the framework also attached to this lift out section here, and I've screwed in the baseboard to those framework pieces underneath. This is then as simple as just lifting it out like that, and the connection is then made with obviously the terminal blocks, and I've also put some screws in on this side and on the other side here to make sure that those don't move when I'm putting the baseboard in and out here. And it is as simple as well of just putting it in like that at that end, but this end is a little bit more sort of sturdy, and it goes in like that, which is nice because it means that when I try and knock it, or when I run trains over it, it's very nice and sturdy and won't go anywhere. So the next stage for the lift out there is to put the cork underlay on and some track. The track will be powered by those terminal blocks, and then after this, the next part as well is to sort out the final lift out section, which will come across from the baseboard here, and there's a missing lift out section that needs to go in to connect it to the incline here, which if I bring it all the way around will then connect up to this incline where I'd already put the track down previously. So that's the next stage there, and we'll probably pick things up when I'm halfway through constructing this next lift out section to join the final two parts of the incline. I've now started looking at getting the last of the lift out sections completed, and this is particularly then for the plank of wood that is stretching across that used to be that length on the old removable section. That needs to be cut down, but before cutting that down I've added in some extra support framework into the sort of timber struts that are already going up to the very top level, and the one on the very far left is actually part of the original lift out section frame work coming off that on the left hand side of the baseboard. So that has already given me the right height, and then I've made, shall we say, quite a tight fit at the moment for the framework pieces that are then just holding that lift out section in place, ready so that I can screw in the framework for the lift out section to be completed. So here are the additional pieces of framework that I've added in. Firstly, here on the left hand side of this lift out section, I added in a short wooden piece between the framework previously shown for the higher incline and then the framework that is actually for the incline supported off the lower level of the layout. And then I did a similar thing as well on the other side, but this time with two pieces of wood. These connect the framework from, again, the higher incline and the framework that actually comes down from the scenery level, which is above the fiddle yard. Connected those two pieces of framework together, and that's created quite a sort of fixed structure which I can then put the baseboard section on top of that framework, and that's all sort of joined up with then the framework that carries on around the corner over the top of the fiddle yard. So next I then cut down the baseboard plank that was across this section down into three pieces, two for either side of the lift out, and then the final piece would be for the middle. I added in the supporting framework for the lift out section itself in the middle, as I've done for the other inclines, and then made sure that I had a nice flush level finish across the joins for the lift out section. You'll then see here in the picture that I've got all four of those lift out sections now complete. There's three which are for inclines, and then there's the one at the very bottom which is the lower level for fiddle yard access across both sides. That then completes all of the rebuild for each of the lift out sections that I need in terms of the framework and the baseboards. I've obviously done the track work and the cork underlay and wiring up the very bottom lift out section, but I still now need to then move on and do that for the rest of the inclines. This is where I'd got up to in terms of the track work in the last layout update. I'd got round the incline as far as then here, and what I've done is taken the baseboards off the very top of the scenery level here so that you can see down into the incline that sits above the fiddle yard. So I've continued the track work around the first sort of corner piece by the garage door. I said I'd sort of leave that to do all as one piece, and then also to connect it in with the lift out section and get the spacing and the track right in that area so that I don't get any trains conflicting with each other as they're sort of going around the corner. So I've spaced all that out correctly, and then it comes around out of the framework there underneath the scenery level and then across this lift out section here. So this lift out section has got the track down, it's all wired up. The right hand side is wired up correctly. All the track is then lined up between the joins, and that then lifts out from there when I need to enter and exit the garage. This side I've got some temporary wiring in there for the moment, because I've also then got to wire up all the droppers that then come down off this side as it comes around the first corner here and then starts to proceed up the incline on this side of the garage by this garage wall here. And if we take a look at the view up there, that then shows you the work that I've done all the way up this side as well with the track work. Pretty simple, straight track all the way up there towards then the Class 350, which we'll go and have a look at. So as it comes here past the breeze block in the middle, and then it continues all the way up here to where I mentioned at the very start of the video is where I've got to in terms of track work on the incline, with the 350 here and then another corner piece before it sort of finishes just before it gets to where the scenery level will go above the fiddle yard. So a bit like where I got to on the incline for the last layout update, I'm going to leave these bits until I know where the track needs to go for the scenery section. So as we come back down the incline, you'll also notice that I've put in the barriers, the insulation piping on the outside like I had done for when I had the testing stage of the incline build. And then as we come down towards the garage door, it's that'll stop any trains falling off the edge and going over onto either the baseboard below or even onto the floor, and that'll stop any trains getting damaged. So following getting that incline now completed, apart from the last little bit to get up to the scenery level, the next piece of work here then is to carry on the other incline. So this is as far as I got on the other incline, which comes off the lower level, and where that wiring is sat at the moment, got to get some cork underlay down on there. And as we've sort of discussed earlier in the video, those lift out sections are now ready to have the cork underlay and the track work put down, so I can continue that around, and then that comes over the top of the fiddle yard, does a lap of the layout before coming back to this next lift out section here and joining up with the scenery level. So that's the next stage of work to get done for hopefully the end of the year, and by the December layout update I'm hopefully then going to have a full circuit of trains. But in the meantime, I hope you enjoy watching the trains that will be running over the top of the lift out section here and the incline that I've completed so far. Thanks very much for watching, and please do comment and like and subscribe. Cheers, and we'll see you in the next update in December.